Welcome to Study Loop.
In this question, we're comparing two different situations. One where we have elastic supply and inelastic demand, graphed here, and one where we have inelastic supply and elastic demand, graphed here. So we want to impose a identical tax to these two markets and see how it affects consumer and producer surplus in either case. So to create an identical tax, I just want to draw a vertical line of approximately the same length on both of these graphs here. So I would consider those approximately equal, at least for our purposes. So in the usual way, let's draw the prices faced by the consumer and producer respectively after imposing these taxes. And let's label all the usual regions. This is the consumer surplus that we'll be left with after the tax, the government revenue on the consumer side received from the tax, and some deadweight loss. This is the new producer surplus, the producer's government tax revenue, and this tiny triangle here that you can barely see is the deadweight loss on the producer side. And let's compare that over here to the second case, where our new consumer surplus is represented by region A here. Government revenue from consumers generated by this rectangle B here. And then this little triangle here is the deadweight loss on the consumer side. And here we have our producer surplus after the tax, government revenue on the producer side, and deadweight loss on the producer side. So what we see as a difference here is that when we have elastic supply and inelastic demand, well, let's compare what the consumers lose here. Well, originally they had ABC, but they're losing this gigantic rectangular region B as well as this larger triangle C. So it appears by visual inspection that the consumer surplus decreases by more than the producer surplus when we have inelastic demand and elastic supply. In the alternative situation where we have inelastic supply and elastic demand, originally the consumers had ABC as their consumer surplus and producers had XYZ, but after imposing the government tax, it appears that the producer's surplus is decreasing by more than the consumer surplus. So we know in the first case that when demand is more inelastic compared to supply, it appears that the producers will bear a higher share of the tax burden than producers. They're less sensitive to price shocks, so they take more of the burden. And then in the opposite scenario, producers are bearing more of the burden as they are the ones who are less sensitive to the price shocks.